Good evening, Year 11, and welcome to your night before news for Paper 3 Maths Foundation. Paper 3 is the most important paper. You can narrow your revision on this paper because we know what we've already seen, and that means we should be able to get our greatest score on Paper 3 because we know things that aren't going to come up. So here we can say that these topics are all the things we haven't seen for ratio and proportion. So lots of things on there that we haven't seen, and we can target our revision to these things. We can do exactly the same for number, and that number comes up quite often. 29% of topics in all the exams are number, but there's not many things left there that we haven't had. So lots of things that we can not revise and focus on what's on these slides. We can think about algebra in exactly the same way. All of these things could come up. They're not all going to come up, but there are lots of things we don't need to revise. So when you're thinking about your revision for the night before the exam, be choosing from this list things that you know that you aren't confident on. If you know you struggle with simultaneous equations, choose that. If you know you struggle with factorising, choose that to work with. Don't choose something that isn't on this list that we might have already had. Can do the same for geometry. Here's a list for geometry. Again, things we haven't seen yet. A slightly longer list, but that's because geometry comes up less. So I'd be prioritising ratio, number and algebra, and then thinking about geometry and then statistics as the last things to be revising. So probability and statistics, geometry come up a lot less. So I'd be focusing on number, on algebra, on ratio. But again, look at these topics. There isn't here anything to do with pictograms. There isn't here anything to do with bar charts because we've seen those, so don't revise those. Revise the things that are on this slide. That's what's going to help you. If you want to look at specific topics, I talked about this for paper 1 and paper 2, these are the places to go. So Sparks Maths Independent Learning, ExamQ for exam questions, Maths Genie the same. Corporate Maths and First Class Maths have big banks for you to practice lots and lots of questions. If you want to do practice papers, go to Maths Genie, go to practice papers, and then do that. Practice papers are probably not going to help you as much before paper 3. That focused revision on the topics at the start of the slide are what's really important. So before we get to tomorrow morning, just think from the first 5 or 6 slides, which of those topics do you need to focus on? Which of those topics do you need to prioritise? And find specific questions for those topics. Maths Genie, probably a good place to go. Search for those topics. You can get exam questions on those topics rather than doing a paper. We know that tomorrow morning we can make a big difference. We can pick up 4 or 5 marks by making sure we access all of these things. So the hub is open from 7 AM. Bring some questions that you haven't been able to answer. Again, thinking that this revision is going to be your most focused, this is the most important time for you to do this. Bring those things you know you've struggled on. We'll then have revision in the conservatory canteen, like we've done for paper 1 and paper 2. And again, target those things you know you are struggling with from your revision the night before. It's all about making sure that that time in the morning is spent picking up marks. Yes, it's great to get confidence by doing things you already know, but look on those breakfast revisions and find something you think you can do, but you know you've got wrong in the past. Have a go and ask for help. Paper 3 is the most important. We can pick up the most amount of marks here because we know exactly what is going to come up. So think about what topics you want to revise from those earlier lists. Focus your revision this evening and come and ask for help tomorrow. Good luck, Year 11.